The stars above were calm, deceptively calm, as if the galaxy itself was holding its breath. In the vast council chamber of the Galactic Alliance, every alien delegate sat in uneasy silence. Holographic projections of ships, planets, and war simulations flickered across the walls, illuminating faces twisted with fear and disbelief. The council had gathered for a single purpose: to confront humanity. No species had ever resisted them before. None had ever defied the rules of the galaxy. Humanity, small and seemingly insignificant, had always been dismissed as a weak, primitive civilization. But that reputation was about to shatter. The chamber doors opened with a mechanical hum, and a lone human diplomat stepped inside. He moved with calm confidence, shoulders squared, eyes unflinching. Murmurs rippled through the room. Some of the delegates leaned forward in shock, others whispered nervously, but all of them were watching, uncertain what this human could possibly do. The human stopped at the center of the chamber, hands clasped behind his back. His voice, when he spoke, was firm and unwavering, though it carried no threat. "We are here," he said simply, "because you assume we will bow. You assume we will surrender without a fight. You are wrong." The room fell into stunned silence. A member of the Zelther species, known across the galaxy for their sharp intelligence and cruel politics, hissed in disbelief. You are serious? You expect the Alliance to accept this?" Humanity's representative smiled faintly. "We do not ask for your acceptance. We ask only that you understand. Humanity is not to be underestimated." Suddenly, a massive holographic display activated behind him. It showed Earth, slowly rotating in the darkness of space, surrounded by fleets, ships that no alien technology could ignore. The image expanded, revealing details. Massive warships bristling with weaponry, sleek carriers moving like living shadows, and smaller strike vessels that darted through the void faster than anything the Council had ever seen. Gasps and murmurs erupted. Delegates shouted over one another. The smallest of the Council species began trembling visibly, their legs shaking as they clutched at control panels. A general from the Zorvani fleet, a species infamous for their ruthlessness, slammed his clawed hand against the desk. This is impossible. Humanity cannot have built such forces without centuries of secrecy." The human diplomat tilted his head slightly. "You are correct. We did it in far less. You underestimated our resolve. You underestimated our ability to unite under a single purpose. And now," he paused, letting the weight of his words sink in, "you will face the consequences of that mistake." Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the council chamber. Outside, the sky over the capital of the Alliance was turning dark. Hundreds of vessels appeared without warning. Earth's fleet had arrived. They moved in perfect formation, shadowing the Council's world like predators circling prey. Alien leaders scrambled, their attempts to coordinate defenses failing as panic spread like wildfire. A projection of the fleet hovered behind the human, showing every ship in real time. The Council could see the deadly precision of humanity's armada. Missiles charging in unison, plasma cannons rotating to target key positions, and unmanned drones that were already scanning, analyzing, and calculating the weaknesses of the alien forces. A representative of the Karath, a race of towering, horned warriors, bellowed, shaking the floor with rage. "You will not threaten the Alliance. You are just one world." The human diplomat's voice was calm, but every word hit like a hammer. "One world. Perhaps. But one world that has survived extinction, rebellion, plague, and war. One world that has built wonders you cannot imagine. One world that refuses to kneel." In that moment, the council chamber felt the tension of an impending storm. Every alien leader realized something terrifying. Humanity was no ordinary civilization. Their arrogance, their defiance, their unexpected strength, it all made them a force the galaxy had never seen before. And yet, there was no sign of fear in the human's eyes. No hesitation. Only confidence. Outside, the stars seemed to flicker as the human fleet's engines roared to life, painting the darkness with trails of blue energy. The council's delegates froze, knowing the attack would come, knowing that their centuries of control and fear might end in a single strike. The diplomat raised his hand, and the chamber quieted again. Decide carefully, for every choice you make will determine the survival of your species. Humanity does not beg, it does not negotiate from fear. It acts. And soon, you will see what that means. A heavy silence fell. Every eye in the chamber stayed fixed on the human. Every mind raced to calculate, to plan, to survive. But one thing was certain, nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same again. Humanity had arrived, and the era of alien dominance was about to face its first real challenge. And far above the council chambers, in the cold emptiness of space, a single human ship detached from the fleet, moving silently toward the heart of the Alliance's defenses. It carried with it a message written not in words, but in fire, steel, and unstoppable determination. Humanity refused to kneel. The council chambers were in chaos. Aliens shouted over one another, claws, tentacles, and hands slamming on consoles as they tried to figure out how to respond. But the human diplomat stood still, calm, almost smiling, as if he were watching a storm unfold and he knew exactly how it would end. Outside, the human fleet moved with deadly precision. Every ship, every fighter, every drone was in perfect formation, an unbroken wave of power. The Council had expected diplomacy to buy them time, but now they were facing a reality they could not ignore. Humanity had prepared, and they were ready to act. In a quiet corner, a young Zorvani officer stared at the holographic projections, his eyes wide. How can one planet build such a fleet?" he whispered. No one answered. Everyone knew that even the most advanced civilizations took centuries to reach this level. Humanity had done it in decades, and now they held the galaxy's most powerful fleets in their hands. A general from the Kareth bellowed orders to their commanders, but the voice sounded hollow, unsure. Their ships scrambled, but they were slow, uncoordinated, and already falling behind the calculations of human targeting algorithms. Missiles and energy pulses streaked across space as the first skirmishes began. The human diplomat did not move. He raised one hand, and a calm voice echoed through the chamber. "You can fight, if you wish. But know this, every strike against humanity will be met with overwhelming force. Every attempt to dominate us will fail. You cannot outthink, outmaneuver, or outlast us." Suddenly, the holographic display shifted, showing the Council's homeworld in more detail. On the planet's surface, fleets of alien ships were mobilizing, energy shields flickering as they prepared to defend themselves. But the humans already had calculated their weak points. Within moments, the fleet's drones began to disable key shield generators, silently and invisibly. A Zelther diplomat hissed, his face pale. They are inside our defenses already. How did they get past our sensors?" The human diplomat's smile widened slightly. "We learn fast. We adapt faster. You have lived in fear for so long that you never imagined a civilization could rise in secret. Yet here we are." In the council chamber, arguments broke out among the delegates. Some wanted to surrender, others wanted to retaliate immediately. Their unity crumbled under the pressure, leaving them confused and vulnerable. Humanity had not just sent a fleet, they had sent doubt, fear, and disbelief into the hearts of the galaxy's most powerful leaders. Outside, the first real engagement began. Human fighters darted like shadows among the alien vessels, striking with pinpoint accuracy. One by one, alien ships exploded in brilliant bursts of light, debris scattering across space. The Council watched in horror as centuries of dominance and power began to crumble before their eyes. The human diplomat turned slightly, addressing the room again. "Every species here believes they are at the top of the chain. Every one of you assumes that your strength is enough to command, to rule, to intimidate. You are wrong. Humanity does not bow. Humanity does not beg. Humanity acts." The Kareth general roared in anger, sending a fleet of assault ships toward the human vessels. But the human fleet anticipated every move. Missiles were intercepted mid-flight, energy pulses redirected, and alien ships were drawn into traps they could not see. One by one, their forces began to falter. In the middle of the chaos, the Zorvani officer who had whispered earlier could not take his eyes off the human diplomat. There was no fear in that calm face, no hesitation, only the certainty of victory. "How can they be so sure?" he muttered. The diplomat raised a hand again. "Because we do not rely on luck. We rely on skill, courage, and unity. You have divided yourselves with politics, fear, and arrogance. Humanity has united for a single purpose: to survive, to protect, and to show that no one can control us." Suddenly, alarms blared. One of the Council's key command ships exploded in a massive fireball. Panic spread like wildfire across the chamber and beyond. The humans had breached their command network, and the fleet was beginning to collapse under precision strikes. Every species in the Council realized, in that moment, that the humans were not just another opponent. They were a force unlike any other, a civilization that refused to be dominated. And as the diplomat's voice echoed through the chamber once more, the truth became impossible to deny. "You have underestimated us. You have assumed we would kneel. You were wrong. Humanity will not bow. Humanity will not falter. And humanity will not stop." In the distance, the stars lit up with explosions, signaling the start of a battle that would change the galaxy forever. The Council trembled, their confidence shattered, as the reality became clear. The era of alien supremacy had begun to crumble, and humanity was leading the charge. Above them all, the human fleet moved like a living shadow, silent but deadly, carrying with it a single message that resonated across the galaxy: never underestimate humanity. The galaxy was aflame. The alien fleet scrambled, but every movement seemed already predicted. Humanity's forces moved like shadows, striking with deadly precision, then vanishing before retaliation could reach them. In the council chambers, the alien leaders stared at the holographic displays, panic etched on every face. The human diplomat remained calm in the center of the chamber, observing the chaos with a faint, almost imperceptible smile. "They still think they control the galaxy," he said softly. "They do not see what is coming." In space, the humans had deployed a new weapon, one that no species had anticipated. Small, sleek drones, faster than the fastest alien fighters, zipped between enemy ships. They were unarmed in the traditional sense, yet every ship they touched began to malfunction. Engines failed. Shields collapsed. Communications went silent. Entire squadrons became useless, drifting helplessly in the void. A Karath admiral slammed his fists on his console. "Impossible! How can one species create technology like this in secret?" His voice trembled, not with fear, but with disbelief. "We've monitored Earth for decades. They should not have the capability." The human diplomat raised a hand again. "You monitored. You watched. And yet you never understood. Humanity does not simply observe. We adapt, we improve, and when the time comes, we strike." The council's chamber was filled with heated arguments. Some leaders wanted to negotiate, hoping to save themselves through diplomacy. Others called for full retaliation, convinced their overwhelming numbers would crush the human threat. But no one could agree, and their indecision only gave humanity an advantage. Meanwhile, deep in the council's command network, a single human ship detached from the fleet. Silent, fast, and almost invisible, it slipped through defenses to reach the central command hub. Inside, elite human operatives prepared for a mission that would change the balance of power. They moved like shadows, leaving no trace behind, planting devices that would disable communications, disrupt shields, and leave the council vulnerable. Back in the council chambers, the Zelther ambassador's voice shook. "They are inside our systems, controlling them. How can this be possible?" The human diplomat's eyes glinted. "You forgot one rule: never underestimate humanity. We learn quickly. We plan thoroughly. And when we act, we leave no room for error." Outside, entire alien fleets were beginning to falter. Ships drifted lifelessly, destroyed from within by the invisible strike of the human fleet. Missiles fired blindly into empty space. Communications screamed with confusion. Every species realized that their centuries of control, their belief in their own supremacy, was crumbling. The Karath general growled. "We cannot lose. We will not lose. Strike every human vessel." But it was too late. The human fleet anticipated every move. Energy pulses were redirected. Missiles intercepted. Alien ships that tried to regroup found themselves trapped in perfectly calculated ambushes. Every strike from humanity was precise, efficient, and devastating. In the council chamber, the Zorvani officer whispered, staring at the projections. "They are unstoppable. We cannot fight them." The diplomat's gaze swept the room. "You call yourselves leaders, yet you fail to lead. You call yourselves strategists, yet your plans collapse under pressure. Humanity is not like you. We do not fight for dominance alone. We fight for survival, for our world, and for the principle that no one can control us." The human operatives inside the command hub activated the final stage of their mission. Energy surges rippled through the Council's central systems, disabling key defenses, cutting off reinforcements, and leaving the alien fleets exposed. In seconds, the human fleet gained total control of the battlefield. Panic turned into fear. Leaders who had once laughed at humanity now stared at the displays in horror. Entire fleets were destroyed without warning, and the Council's power structure began to crumble. The human diplomat's voice rang out again. "You see now. This is what happens when you assume a small world will kneel. This is what happens when you underestimate humanity." From the projections, the Council could see the human ships advancing deeper into their territory. They moved with purpose, unafraid, calculating every strike, leaving no room for retreat. The message was clear: humanity did not negotiate from fear, it acted from strength. And those who opposed it would pay the price. In that moment, one thought echoed through the council chamber, whispered among the delegates like a dark prophecy. Humanity was not just a rising power, they were a force the galaxy could no longer ignore. And as the diplomat's calm voice carried across the room, the truth became undeniable. The era of alien dominance was over. Humanity had arrived, and the galaxy would never be the same. Above it all, the human fleet moved like a single, living organism. Ships flowed between the stars, striking, disabling, and overwhelming. Every alien commander watching knew the same thing. Survival now depended on humility, speed, and hope, none of which would be enough against humanity's relentless advance. The Council's capital world was a glittering jewel among the stars, home to centuries of power, wealth, and dominance. From orbit, it looked serene, almost peaceful. But beneath the surface, panic spread like wildfire. The alien fleets were in retreat, their defenses crippled, and now the human armada was closing in. The human diplomat remained in the council chamber, calm, almost serene, as alarms blared and the alien leaders shouted over one another. "We cannot hold them. Our forces, our fleets, they are being destroyed," one Karath commander bellowed. The diplomat's voice was steady, almost quiet, but every word struck like a hammer. "You built your power on fear. You ruled through intimidation. And now, you face a civilization that has neither fear nor hesitation. Humanity does not bow. Humanity does not negotiate from weakness. Humanity acts." Outside the chamber, the human fleet began orbital maneuvers, positioning for a strike unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Massive human warships hovered above the planet, casting shadows over cities and military complexes. Smaller strike vessels darted like swarming predators, moving so fast they were almost invisible. The alien defense networks, already compromised, struggled to respond. A Zelther ambassador cried out, pounding his clawed hands on the console. They are in position already. How can one species move so quickly, so efficiently?" The human diplomat tilted his head slightly, observing the panic. "Speed is nothing without strategy. And humanity has mastered both. You underestimated us, and that was your first mistake. You will not make another." Suddenly, explosions lit the skies of the council's capital. Energy shields faltered, defense satellites were destroyed, and entire alien battalions found themselves cut off from communications. On the surface, city streets trembled as shockwaves from orbital strikes shook the ground. Civilians and soldiers alike ran in chaos, unsure where to find safety. A Karath general roared, directing a desperate counterattack, but the human fleet anticipated every move. Missiles were intercepted mid-flight, energy pulses redirected, and ambushes turned against the attackers. Within minutes, the once mighty defenses of the Council's capital were crumbling. In the chamber, the delegates looked on in disbelief. "This cannot be happening," a trembling Zorvani officer whispered. "They should be just one world. They cannot do this alone." The human diplomat's voice carried over the comms, calm, commanding, and terrifying. "Alone? Perhaps. But a united humanity is unstoppable. You have relied on division, politics, and fear. Humanity relies on courage, strategy, and unity. And that makes all the difference." Meanwhile, on the planet's surface, elite human strike teams had begun landing. Silent, efficient, and deadly, they moved through alien cities and military complexes, disabling key installations, capturing intelligence, and leaving destruction in their wake. Alien soldiers tried to fight back, but the humans were everywhere they weren't expected to be. A Zelther admiral's voice cracked over the comms. "We cannot stop them. Our defenses are collapsing." The diplomat's calm gaze swept the chamber. "You see what happens when you assume a small world can be controlled. You see the consequence of underestimating humanity. This is only the beginning." In orbit, the human fleet formed a massive formation, covering every approach, every escape route. Ships moved as one, almost alive, a deadly organism that no alien strategy could overcome. Every strike was calculated, every maneuver precise, leaving nothing to chance. The Council's leaders realized, in horror, that their survival depended on hope. Hope alone would not save them. The human diplomat raised a hand. "Decide carefully. Every choice now matters. And every wrong choice will cost you everything." Suddenly, a massive alien battleship attempted to escape the orbital blockade. Within seconds, human drones had disabled its engines and weapon systems. It drifted helplessly, a monument to the futility of alien pride. The Council's chamber fell silent. No one spoke. Every leader understood the terrifying reality. Humanity was not just a threat, they were the unstoppable force that could decide the fate of the galaxy. From the shadows of the fleet, human strike vessels detached, racing toward critical installations on the planet below. Each movement was calculated, each strike precise. And through it all, the diplomat's calm voice echoed, "You thought humanity would kneel. You were wrong. You assumed we would be afraid. You were wrong. And now, you will see what happens when a species refuses to bow." The stars above the Council's capital burned with explosions. Entire alien fleets were destroyed, key planets were compromised, and the Council itself teetered on the edge of collapse. And through it all, humanity advanced, unyielding, relentless, unstoppable. Above everything, the human diplomat watched, silent and unshaken, knowing that the galaxy's greatest powers were beginning to realize a truth they could never ignore. Humanity had arrived, and nothing would ever be the same again. The Council's capital world was burning. Smoke and fire spread across the skies as human strikes tore through defensive installations. The air was filled with alarms, sirens, and the frantic cries of alien leaders trying to coordinate a defense that no longer existed. From orbit, the human fleet maintained perfect control, unmoving, calculating, precise. Inside the Council chambers, chaos reigned. Delegates shouted over one another, claws and tentacles slamming panels, but the human diplomat remained calm, watching their panic as if observing an experiment. "You see now," he said, voice steady and commanding. "You cannot control us. You cannot intimidate us. Humanity refuses to kneel." A Karath general, furious and desperate, slammed his fists onto the console. "Enough talk. Strike them. Destroy them all." Outside, the first true confrontation began. Alien strike fleets surged forward in a desperate counterattack. Massive energy blasts tore through space, lighting the void with fire. But the humans were ready. Every attack was predicted, every move countered. Alien ships found themselves trapped, ambushed, and destroyed faster than they could react. In orbit, a squadron of human fighters zipped past enemy warships, firing precision pulses that disabled shields and engines in seconds. Alien pilots scrambled to respond, but every maneuver seemed already anticipated. One by one, their forces fell, drifting silently in space. On the planet's surface, human strike teams moved like shadows. They targeted command centers, communication arrays, and weapon depots with surgical precision. Alien soldiers tried to fight back, but the humans were everywhere, unexpected, unstoppable, and relentless. The Zelther ambassador's voice trembled. "We cannot stop them. They are everywhere." The human diplomat's gaze swept the chamber. This is what happens when a species assumes they are at the top. You have relied on fear, politics, and arrogance. Humanity relies on courage, unity, and strategy. That is why we prevail. Suddenly, a massive alien flagship, the pride of the Kareth fleet, charged forward. Its weapons glowed bright as it aimed to crush the human formation. The council held its breath, thinking perhaps the humans would finally falter. But then, the flagship stopped. Human drones swarmed it, invisible and fast. Within moments, its engines faltered, weapons disabled. The massive ship drifted helplessly, a monument to human precision and strategy. A Zorvani officer muttered under his breath, staring at the projections. How can they do this? One world cannot be this strong." The human diplomat spoke again, calm and unwavering. "Strength is not measured in size alone. It is measured in unity, courage, and the will to survive. Humanity has all of these, and more. That is why you are failing." Even as the Council's fleets tried to regroup, the humans moved deeper into the heart of the capital. Elite strike teams disabled planetary defense grids, leaving entire cities exposed. Alien generals realized that their own fleets were now liabilities. They could not protect anything. Then, a surprising move. The diplomat raised his hand and activated a communication network, broadcasting across every alien vessel in orbit. His voice, calm and commanding, echoed. "Enough blood has been spilled. You can surrender, or you can face total annihilation. Humanity does not ask twice. Decide wisely." For a moment, silence fell. The alien leaders stared at the holographic projection of the diplomat, seeing a species that refused fear, refused to beg, refused to bow. Some whispered of surrender. Others roared in defiance, unwilling to believe what was happening. But the human fleet waited. Precision, patience, and strategy. Everything was in place for the next phase. Every alien commander realized the terrifying truth: humanity would not stop. Humanity would not negotiate. Humanity would act. And anyone who opposed them would be destroyed. The Kareth general growled and slammed a fist on his console. "We cannot lose. We will not allow one world to dominate the galaxy." The diplomat's calm smile never faltered. "You can fight. You can resist. But know this, every choice you make now will cost lives, and in the end, humanity will stand. Always." In the skies above, explosions continued to light the darkness. Alien ships fell one after another. The Council's command systems were in chaos. The capital world trembled under the precision strikes of human forces. And the galaxy watched as a civilization that no one took seriously began rewriting history. The diplomat turned slightly, watching the unfolding battlefield with cold certainty. Humanity was not just fighting for survival. Humanity was making a statement. The era of alien dominance was over. And far above the planet, a new fleet of human warships detached from the main formation. Silent, massive, and deadly, they moved like shadows toward the heart of the Council's central command, a promise that the next move would be even more decisive. The heart of the Council's capital was in chaos. Explosions rattled buildings, alarms screamed, and alien leaders scrambled to respond to the human onslaught. Yet in the council chamber, the human diplomat stood calm, observing every reaction with cold precision. Every heartbeat, every command, every panic-filled movement had already been calculated. Outside, the human fleet advanced. Massive warships hovered above the planet, their engines glowing blue, casting shadows over the alien cities below. Strike vessels darted through space, invisible to most sensors, moving with deadly intent. Alien fleets tried to regroup, but the humans were always one step ahead. Every maneuver, every attack was anticipated. Deep within the Council's command network, human operatives moved like ghosts. Elite, trained, and precise, they infiltrated the core of the alien systems. Their goal was simple: disable communications, capture critical intelligence, and ensure the Council could not coordinate any meaningful defense. Alien technicians scrambled, but every system failure was met with calm efficiency from the humans. The Zelther ambassador's voice trembled over the comms. They are inside our networks, controlling everything. The diplomat's gaze swept the chamber. You underestimated us. You assumed we would be afraid. You assumed we would negotiate. You assumed we would kneel. You were wrong. On the planet's surface, human strike teams moved with flawless precision. Cities once considered impregnable were now under human control. Military complexes fell in minutes. Alien soldiers, trained for centuries in war, found themselves outmatched at every turn. They tried to fight back, but humanity's combination of tactics, technology, and unity was overwhelming. A Karath general roared, sending his elite forces against the humans. Massive energy blasts tore through streets and sky, but the humans anticipated every attack. Shields held, counters struck, and every assault was turned against the attackers. Within moments, alien forces were trapped, their own weapons neutralized by superior strategy. In the council chamber, a Zorvani officer whispered, panic in his voice. They can't be stopped. No one can. The diplomat raised a hand, his calm voice carrying across the chamber. You call yourselves leaders, yet you fail to lead. You have relied on fear, politics, and division. Humanity relies on courage, unity, and adaptability. That is why you are failing. Suddenly, the human fleet initiated a new phase. Massive energy pulses rippled across the capital's orbit, disabling key planetary defense grids. Alien warships drifted helplessly, their engines offline. Missiles misfired, energy shields flickered and died. Entire fleets were neutralized without a single human ship lost. The council leaders stared in horror. Their centuries of dominance, their supposed invincibility, were crumbling in hours. Even the strongest species could not match humanity's precision, adaptability, and determination. The human diplomat's voice echoed one final time through the chamber. Every choice has consequences. Every miscalculation will cost lives. You were warned. You assumed humanity would kneel. You assumed we would be afraid. And now, you see the result. The elite human operatives had reached the central command node of the Council. Within moments, they secured it, disabling defensive satellites, shutting down communications, and gaining full access to the Council's secrets. Every plan, every fleet movement, every hidden resource was now known to humanity. A Karath admiral screamed over the comms. We cannot lose. We will not allow one world to dominate us. The diplomat's calm gaze swept over the chamber again. You can fight. You can resist. But know this, humanity does not beg. Humanity does not falter. Humanity acts. And what you face now is only the beginning. Outside, the human fleet advanced deeper into alien territory. Their ships moved with silent efficiency, overwhelming every resistance point. Explosions lit the skies, alien fleets drifted lifelessly in the void, and the Council's command systems lay in ruins. In that moment, the galaxy witnessed something it had never seen before. One world, considered insignificant and weak, had risen with a force no one could stop. Humanity's power, intelligence, and courage had shattered centuries of alien dominance in hours. The diplomat turned slightly, his voice calm but resonant. "You thought this was a negotiation. You thought one small planet could be controlled. You were wrong. Humanity refuses to kneel. Humanity does not beg. Humanity prevails." And far above, in the cold expanse of space, the human fleet moved as one, unstoppable, relentless, and alive with purpose. The Council's greatest powers had been humbled. Their fleets destroyed, their cities in ruins, their command structures compromised. Humanity had rewritten the rules of the galaxy, proving that courage, unity, and determination could overcome even the most powerful adversaries. The message was clear. The galaxy would never again see humans as weak or insignificant. Humanity had arrived, and nothing would ever be the same. Silence fell over the Council's capital. Not the calm of peace, but the heavy, tense silence of fear. The alien leaders had never felt this before. Entire fleets destroyed, planetary defenses shattered, and their command networks compromised. They were staring at the collapse of everything they had built for centuries. Humanity had arrived. The human diplomat stood at the center of the council chamber, calm, unshaken, almost serene. His presence alone demanded attention, his unwavering gaze cutting through the panic that gripped the room. "You have been warned," he said, voice steady, echoing across the chamber. "You assumed one world could be controlled. You assumed humanity would kneel. You were wrong. And now, you face the truth." Outside, the human fleet formed a massive formation above the planet. Their warships, sleek and deadly, glowed with energy fields, casting shadows over the crumbling cities below. Smaller strike vessels darted through the void, fast as thought, ready to hit any target. Every alien movement, every defensive maneuver, every desperate attack had already been predicted. Humanity had anticipated them all. The Karath general, furious and desperate, slammed his fists onto the console. "We cannot lose. We will not allow one world to dominate the galaxy." The diplomat's calm smile never wavered. "You can fight. You can resist. But know this, humanity does not beg, humanity does not falter, and humanity does not lose. And you are about to see why." In the skies above, human drones swarmed the Council's remaining warships. They disabled engines, neutralized weapons, and disrupted communications. Alien ships fell like dominoes, drifting helplessly in the void. The Council's last hope of resistance was crumbling before their eyes. On the surface, human strike teams moved with surgical precision. Military installations, power cores, and communication hubs fell one by one. Alien soldiers, trained for centuries, were no match for humans who combined strategy, technology, and adaptability. Every move they made was calculated, every strike devastating. The Zelther ambassador's voice trembled. They are unstoppable. One planet, one species." The human diplomat's voice cut through the chamber, calm but commanding. "One species, united. One species, determined. One species that refuses to kneel. Humanity has survived extinction, war, plague, and tyranny. And now, we survive in strength, not weakness. We act. And that is why we prevail." Suddenly, the human fleet executed a maneuver that stunned every alien observer. Massive energy pulses erupted across the planet's orbit, disabling the final shield generators protecting the Council's central command. Alien warships fell like toys, their engines dead, their weapons useless. Inside the chamber, the Council's delegates stared at the diplomat in horror. We cannot," one whispered, voice shaking. The diplomat raised a hand, projecting a holographic map of the galaxy. Every system, every fleet, every Council-controlled planet now had markers showing human influence and reach. It was a map not of conquest, but of capability. Humanity had the power, the skill, and the determination to defend its people and project its strength anywhere in the galaxy. "You have built your power on fear, division, and intimidation," the diplomat said. "Humanity builds on courage, unity, and strategy. This is the difference. You are learning it too late." The Karath general roared in defiance, sending his remaining forces in a desperate, suicidal attack. Energy beams lit the skies. Ships collided. Explosions tore through the void. But the human fleet countered every strike with flawless precision. Every alien maneuver was neutralized. Within minutes, the remaining fleets were destroyed. For the first time in galactic history, a single species had shattered centuries of interstellar dominance. The Council, once feared and untouchable, had been humbled. Alien leaders who had ruled with arrogance, cruelty, and fear now faced the undeniable reality. Humanity was not just a rising power, they were unstoppable. The diplomat's gaze swept across the chamber one last time. Let this be remembered. Humanity does not kneel. Humanity does not beg. Humanity does not fear. We survive. We fight. We act. And we lead when the galaxy refuses to listen. The era of alien dominance is over. The era of humanity has begun. Outside, the human fleet hovered silently, massive and invincible. The stars around them sparkled with the fires of battle, but humanity remained unscathed, resolute, and ready for whatever challenges awaited. Their message was clear: the galaxy would never again underestimate them. And far above the Council's capital, one massive human warship detached from the fleet, its presence alone enough to make the remaining alien leaders quake. Its energy fields glowed like molten steel, its hull bristling with weapons, a living testament to human ingenuity and determination. Humanity had arrived. Humanity would never kneel. The Council was silent. Their fleets destroyed. Their defenses shattered. Their arrogance exposed. The galaxy had witnessed a civilization rise, defy, and dominate in ways no one thought possible. And from that moment on, every species would remember a single truth: humanity refuses to kneel. The stars themselves seemed to shimmer with possibility, as if the galaxy had recognized the birth of a new power. And above it all, humanity watched, waiting, ready, unstoppable.